Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is silverhusky. Today we're going to delve into a topic that's been causing ripples in the world of economics and geopolitics, the potential challenges to the US dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency. Some suggest that if the BRICS nations were to introduce a new global currency backed by physical assets, the implications could be far-reaching. Let's explore. So first we got to ask ourselves, what are the BRICS nations, right? So BRICS is an acronym, stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Those are the 5 nations that have built up this alliance. And their alliance isn't necessarily meant to take apart the Western nations, but that's kind of what's going to happen if they do take more power. So let's talk a little bit about that. At the heart of this discussion lies the idea of a significant shift in the global monetary landscape. The US dollar has long enjoyed its position as the world's go-to reserve currency, but if the BRICS nations, comprised of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, were to create a new global currency backed by tangible assets, these dynamics could change. One of the first concerns is the diversification of reserves. Countries currently hold a substantial portion of their foreign exchange reserves in US dollars. A new global currency might entice nations to reconsider their holdings, opting for diversifying away from the dollar. This could have profound impact on the dollar's value and the influence of the United States in a global financial market. The implications for the U.S. economy could be substantial. The dollar's role as the world reserve currency has allowed the U.S. to issue large amounts of debt in its own currency. This, in turn, has facilitated lower interest rates and broader economic flexibility. However, if the dollar's dominance wanes, the U.S. might face challenges in financing its debt and maintaining its monetary policy autonomy. Geopolitically, the introduction of a new global currency could reshape alliances and power dynamics. The global economic order established since World War II might undergo significant changes. This could lead to shifts in influence among nations and recalibration of political allegiances. But it's not as simple as introducing a new currency. The BRICS nations, each with their own economic structures and priorities, would need to come to a consensus on the design, management, and governance of this new currency. The challenges in coordination and implementation are immense. The success of any new currency hinges on market acceptance and confidence. Investors, businesses, and governments would need to trust that this new currency is stable, convertible, and effectively managed. Gaining this trust would be a gradual process and would heavily impact on the currency's viability. The concerns surrounding the potential introduction of a new global currency by the BRICS nations are numerous and complex. While the US dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency isn't necessarily at an immediate risk, the idea of a shift in the international monetary landscape prompts us to reflect on the intricate connections between economics, geopolitics, and global power dynamics. We've recently gotten word that Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Argentina, Ethiopia, and Iran have all been extended invitations to join the BRICS nations. Interesting thing, they're currently having their first big meeting in South Africa right now. Vladimir Putin, leader of Russia, is not in attendance because there is a global order for his arrest. So to avoid arrest, he sent his next in command. But it's important to note that these other nations, the addition of these countries to BRICS, would likely lead to significant shifts in global geopolitics and economics. Here are some potential impacts. Geopolitical power shifts. The inclusion of Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Argentina would expand the geographical and geopolitical reach of the BRICS alliance. This could challenge the influence of Western nations in various international forums and negotiations, potentially altering the dynamic of global decision-making. Economic influence. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Argentina are major oil-producing nations. While Iran possesses significant energy resources and a large population, this addition of these countries could further strengthen the economic clout of BRICS, allowing the alliance to control a larger share of the global resources and trade. Energy markets. The combined energy resources of these new members could create an alternative power center in global energy markets. This might impact the pricing of commodities, energy security strategies, and alliances that Western nations have traditionally relied upon. Diversification of alliances. For the new members, joining BRICS could provide alternative economic and political alliances beyond the traditional Western partnerships. This could lead to diversification of trade relationships and investment sources, potentially reducing their dependence on Western markets. Global governance reforms. With a larger and more diverse group, BRICS could potentially advocate for further reforms in global governance structures. This might lead to a stronger push for changes in international financial institutions, trade regulations, and other areas that could challenge the existing Western-led order. Impacts on international organizations. The addition of these countries could impact the functioning and decision-making of international organizations like the United Nations. BRICS could advocate for changes that align more closely with their interests and values, potentially leading to tension with Western nations. Market dynamics. These additions could lead to shifts in currency markets, trade patterns, and investment flows. The combined economic strength of BRICS with these new members could challenge the dominance of Western currencies and financial systems. It's important to mention the potential for political and ideological differences. Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Argentina have diverse political systems and ideologies. Their inclusion could introduce internal disagreements within BRICS, potentially affecting the alliance's cohesion and effectiveness. I'm sure that's part of the consideration in allowing these other members to join BRICS, but since it's yet to be seen, we'll just leave it where it is. Foreign policy alignment. The foreign policy goals of these new members might align more closely with BRICS countries than with Western nations. This could impact global conflict resolution, security arrangements, and regional stability. Response from Western nations. The addition of these countries to BRICS could prompt Western nations to strengthen their own alliances, partnerships, and economic ties to counterbalance the growing influence of the alliance. This could lead to intensified competition for influence on the global stage. One of the biggest threats to Western nations, specifically to the United States, is the potential of Mexico joining BRICS. Though there's no official information about Mexico joining the BRICS alliance, if Mexico were to hypothetically join BRICS, it could have several potential impacts on Western nations. Trade and economic relations. Mexico is a significant trading partner with the United States and Canada through the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, now known as USMCA. If Mexico were to align more closely with BRICS, there could be disruptions or shifts in the trade patterns. Western nations, particularly the U.S., might seek to renegotiate trade agreements to mitigate potential economic impacts. Regional alliances. Mexico's alignment with BRICS could shift the balance of power in the Western Hemisphere. Western nations might respond by strengthening existing regional alliances and partnerships to maintain their influence in the region. With Mexico joining Brazil as a part of BRICS, you can expect several other Latin American countries to join. Geopolitical influence. Mexico's addition to BRICS could provide the alliance with access to key geographical and geopolitical advantage, including its proximity to the United States and its potential to influence Central and South American affairs. This could complicate Western efforts to maintain regional influence. Global governance. The inclusion of Mexico could add momentum to BRICS's push for reform in global governance structures, including international financial institutions. This might challenge the established Western-dominated order. Energy and resources. Mexico is a major oil producer and has significant natural resources. Its inclusion in BRICS could bolster the alliance's control over global energy and resource markets, impacting Western economies and strategies. Currency dynamics. Mexico's participation could impact currency markets and trade relationships. If Mexico were to align more closely with BRICS, the Western nations might face challenges in maintaining the prominence of their currencies in global transactions. Security and defense. Mexico's alignment with BRICS could have implications for regional security dynamics, especially considering its border with the United States. Western nations might reevaluate security and defense strategies in response. Foreign policy shifts. Mexico's foreign policy priorities might shift if it were to join BRICS. This could lead to differing stances on global issues, potentially creating friction with Western nations. Market reactions. Financial markets could react to the uncertainty and potential changes in economic relationships. Investors might reevaluate their positions based on perceived shifts in global economics and political dynamics. Diplomatic tensions. Depending on the circumstance of Mexico's alignment with BRICS, diplomatic tensions could arise between Mexico and Western nations, particularly the United States and Canada. This could affect collaborations on shared interests and challenges. It's important to reiterate the impacts of Mexico joining BRICS, which would depend on a variety of factors, including Mexico's motivation, the degree of alignment with BRICS policies, the reaction of Western nations, and the broader geopolitical context. This scenario is hypothetical and subject to numerous variables, so any actual impact would likely be shaped by these complex dynamics. Let's take a second to talk about why the mainstream media is not really covering BRICS any better than it is. First of all, it's important to recognize that media coverage decisions are influenced not only by factors such as editorial choices and news priorities, but also by broader considerations that can impact the flow of information to the public. Here are a few potential reasons, including those related to deliberate withholding of information. News prioritization. Media outlets have limited space and time to cover a wide range of global events. They often prioritize stories that they believe are most relevant or interesting to their audience. If the BRICS alliance is not seen as directly impacting the daily lives of the audience, it might receive less coverage. Geopolitical focus. Media outlets have a particular focus on events and developments that involve the United States or its immediate allies. The BRICS alliance might not always feature prominently in the coverage if it's not directly tied to U.S. interests or concerns. Complexity and nuance. The dynamics of the BRICS alliance and its implications are complex. Explaining these complexities in a concise and engaging manner can be challenging. Media might choose to cover stories that are easier to explain and understand. Lack of sensationalism. Media outlets often gravitate towards stories that are sensational or emotionally charged. The BRICS alliance might not always provide the same level of drama or immediacy as other news topics. Availability of information. If there's limited access to reliable and up-to-date information about the BRICS alliance, media outlets might struggle to provide comprehensive coverage. Limited resources. Media organizations have limited resources, including reporters, correspondents, and budget. They might choose to allocate these resources to stories that have a broader appeal or higher anticipated viewership. Editorial biases. Media outlets can have editorial biases that influence their coverage decisions. These biases might impact their interest in covering certain international developments. And finally, a deliberate withholding of information. In some cases, there could be deliberate decisions made by media organizations, governments, or other entities to withhold information about certain international alliances or developments. This could be due to political considerations, or control of narratives, or even a desire to shape the public's perception. Unfortunately, the deliberate withholding of information can have several negative consequences. It can lead to a lack of transparency, preventing the public from making informed decisions about global events. This can foster distrust in the media and institutions, as people may perceive the information landscape as manipulated or biased. Furthermore, withholding information can limit the public's ability to engage in a meaningful discussion about significant geopolitical developments, hindering their understanding of the world around them. Unfortunately, the deliberate withholding of information can have several negative consequences. It can lead to a lack of transparency, preventing the public from making informed decisions about global events. This can foster distrust in the media and institutions, as people may perceive the information landscape as manipulated or biased. Furthermore, withholding information can limit the public's ability to engage in a meaningful discussion about significant geopolitical developments, hindering their understanding of the world around them. In a democratic society, access to accurate and comprehensive information is vital for informed citizenry and robust public disclosure. When information is deliberately withheld, it can erode the principles of transparency and accountability that underpin a well-functioning democracy. As such, it's important for individuals to seek out diverse and reputable sources of information to ensure a more complete understanding of international events and their potential impact. It'd be my guess that that's why you're here. You want to get some real information from an unbiased source that is not based on mainstream media. So I want to thank you for joining us on this exploration of a fascinating and ever-evolving topic. And as always, I'm going to encourage you to delve deeper into these discussions. Consider viewpoints from other experts and analysts from around the world. Stay informed, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.